right? So the thought process with us has been that why do CSR? We don't call it CSR, we call it community initiatives. Why do CSR? And we believe that all of us, at least almost all my colleagues, have come from middle class background and are now enjoying standards of living that they didn't hadn't seen before, and we are leaving behind a lot of people who are still in that situation. So we must share, we must give back, is the thought process. Then the second thing is that when you say you want to share and you want to give, do you just want to give a check? Okay, that is not what we want to do, and therefore what we want to do is to give some of our own time. The third question is then, if you want to give time, what is the area in which you can give time, so that your contribution is actually valuable. Then the issue goes down to saying that, can I add something more than just money by my time? So it kind of defines what are the areas in which you will typically work. And the last area comes out, what are you very passionate about? And so people engaged exercise, giving more than just money in areas where you will make impact is what it really gets down to. So our philosophy of CSR, and again evolved over the last 5-6 years, almost 10 years now, is that wherever we are, we will engage in CSR. So we have a large office in Columbus, Indiana, and we work on CSR there. So because in any community in which you work, you have to give back. Then the second thing is we are concerned about how many people get engaged in that. So and nothing happens unless you measure things. So we have metric saying that how many people got involved, how many interactions were there about people's engagement. And the third thing is the area in which you work. And in our company, we are very passionate about environment, and so we do a lot of work on environment. Most of the business work that we do also relates to environment and on education. So these are the areas in which we work, and our metric is that the number of people inside the company multiplied by 1.5 are the number of interactions that people should have in giving to the community. And the same number we also look at in terms of number of beneficiaries that we came up with. And we try to drive in that. We also recognize that a software company cannot do any community initiatives on its own, because we are not specialists in that area. So we work with others. And and the area where you make an impact, in the city in which you work or the areas nearby you work, are what we are actually looking at. That's how we look at things. We have also been engaged with Janvani, which is a Maratha Chamber initiative, which is focused on making Pune a more livable city. And we are engaged in giving them technology support, people support, and of course funding in the work that they do. So I think community initiatives help us all to be a bit grounded. I think it is very elevating for oneself if we can do something for somebody else, and it's very satisfying actually.
How are you, in terms of setting an example, how are you personally involved in these initiatives?
Very deeply actually. I give a lot of time, my personal time, to Janvani. At Janvani, we are working on a variety of areas. At Janvani, we have been working for the last 2 years on solid waste management, segregation of waste, recycling of waste. Generally, the best figures of house-to-house level segregation are like 15% segregation into dry and wet waste. Our figures in Katras are 90%. And we are working on technologies for conversion, of waste into energy or something. The municipal commissioner 2 weeks ago announced that he will roll that program in 25 wards in the city. The first ward we picked up is the largest ward in the city, Katras, 11,000 households, some 7.5 tons of garbage collected every day. Working with collaboration with organizations like Swachh, who are really doing excellent work in garbage pickers, waste pickers. So we believe that if we can really work on this, in next 3 years we can make Pune an absolutely clean city, and we wouldn't make Uruli people's lives miserable. So I think these are the kind of things that we are doing. We are working on traffic and transportation. We have done some work already, and I think we will be able to come out with a very, very good initiative in the next 6 months or so. We are working on participatory budgeting. We are working on e-governance. Some very good work, being done. Very satisfying.
This is, on behalf of Pune, to make Pune livable, more livable city. I think people already applauded the effort, so that tells you how appreciated it is. Has this CSR work helped the KPIT brand in any way, and how so?
See, I remember a very famous dialogue from one of the Ayn Rand's books. So, the one character in the book tells the other person, saying that I cannot hear what you are saying because what you are speaks more loudly than what you are saying. So the issue is that your brand is what you are actually. And I believe that creating a brand of what you are not is like trying to look very fair by putting, powder on your face. It just doesn't stick, So I think, I think brand building is actually, in my opinion, exposing what you are rather than creating what you are not. And if we truly do something well, the brand will be that. Our brand is, as I hope, socially conscious company, because I think we are. Our brand is we are an innovative, scrappy, restless company, because I think we are. And you can't create something which you are not. I think it becomes a very miserable attempt. So I think you should just be what you are.
Very good answer. You talked about being restless. Are you personally also kind of a very restless guy?
You should ask my wife.
How long have you been married?
She's 25 years.
And that hasn't taught you patience so far? What are you surprising? We talked about the CSR, we talked about the values and the values guiding the company when it comes to community sharing, giving back especially. But even in things such as ethics, being driven by and being measured by, being completely driven by ethics, many people think that a starting entrepreneur cannot afford to do many of these things. When did you start? First of all, do you agree that that is true? And when did you start with these kinds of initiatives? Was it early? Was it early? Could it have been earlier than when you started actually?
No, it was always there. So, you probably heard about Palkhiwala. Okay? He's one of the absolute great people, sons of India. Very bright and very straight. So he used to say that, if you walk on a wrong path, the first step is a bit tentative, second is a bit less tentative, but the third step you are running full speed. Okay, so I think the point to stop is before the first step. Okay, and I believe that, as I said earlier, it opens newer doors and better doors. So that has been a conviction with all the people in my team, and so that's all. I don't believe that as a small company or as an entrepreneur, you can't afford to be ethical. Actually, I don't believe so. I agree the path is a little tougher if you want to be very ethical, but I believe that is what also teaches you certain things. Surely it teaches you to be more innovative and creative, because now you have to overcome one more hurdle, and I think that is the more profitable option although it seems prima facie a more difficult option.
When you go after these opportunities and you have been having a scorching pace of growth, we also talked about the glass half full, half empty kind of thing, and you mentioned that we look at it as a glass half empty. Why is it half empty? If it is 99% full, why is it 1% empty? So as a company, you do that. When it comes to the personal life, when it comes to many other things, you actually flip yourself and are content with many times the glass being half full, at least half full. So this is somewhat dichotomous. And how do you realize the company, and especially during the early stage when an entrepreneur wants to go after everything, every opportunity, whatever the cost may be, personal cost many times. So when does a person stop? When does a person look at the half full and half empty, both sides actually? How do you strike that balance?
I don't think I'm very good at striking that balance, but I think to me the glass is always half empty. And I think it has probably something to do with what you get taught when you are young. Like, all of us from a kind of an academic middle class background. See, I mean, my memories of my mother have been that if I came home with 99 marks out of 100 in a mathematics paper, my mother would ask me, why did you lose that 1 mark? That is what we have been taught all the time. So you kind of focus on what is not there, and you try to make sure that you get that. So and I don't think contentment is a very I think it's a highly overrated virtue. So I don't think one should be contented. And see, I think what is important is that at the end of every day you should be so dead tired that you fall asleep the moment you get into bed. But in the morning you should be so full of zest and life that you want to go through one more day so that you can go one step further. And if you are not restless, I don't think you have a right to lead an organization. You see, because complacency sets in very easily. I don't think you have a right to lead an organization. You must be restless. So.
You talked about getting up in the morning and wanting to do things and really pushing yourself. Just today I happened to get a oft-used quote. This is about the lion and the gazelle in Africa. The gazelle wakes up and knows that he has to outrun the fastest lion. The lion wakes up and he knows he has to outrun the slowest gazelle, etc. And the thought always comes to my mind is that, if you are a lion and who happens to wake up late, then the slowest gazelle is already gone, probably eaten. So what it says essentially is there is capabilities that you build, there is strategy that you have, and then there is execution, actually executing to that. So you got to wake up early, you got to actually build your bench strength, and so on and so forth. And many times it is extremely difficult to be able to do both. How do you manage that? Both means, the strategy, there is